Hi and welcome. I'm Dr. Natalie Cordova and this is Dr. Philip Cordova. We're here in Houston, Texas at Core Chiropractic. What we'd like to talk about today is what is the popping noise and does that popping noise have any relationship to getting better and getting better results? So what is that popping noise?
Well, the popping noise is it's called a cavitation. So you have the two areas of the joint, they separate real quick and nitrogen gas is released and it makes a noise. Endorphins are also released, which is your body's natural painkillers. That's why, very often people who crack their knuckles will feel some sense of relief, or people who crack their own neck will feel some sense of relief. But it's just really noise. It doesn't mean a whole lot's happening. Some people are real loud, some people are real quiet. It's not a primary factor on how you're going to feel.
Right. And so our goal is to assess where your spine is and how each bone sits in relationship to the other, and what our goal is to put them in good alignment with each other so that they can move in the right position in relationship to each other. So that pop is going to be different for every person, and so and it's going to be different even for you from one adjustment to the next as your spine gets better. Sometimes it will go where you're getting louder and more noises in the beginning and then less. Sometimes it's opposite. We've seen it where it's very quiet because we can only move very little because so much swelling, and then as you're able to move more and more and we can get better adjustments on you, then you even hear louder noises.
Yeah, some people when they first start off, it's like a little click. It's not much. And then as they start getting adjusted, it becomes more of a clunk, like as it goes back into place. But frequently, we're seeing patients when they're first starting off, we might see them 3 times in a week, and the first adjustment of the week was really loud, and then the second adjustment not quite as loud, and by the third adjustment, hardly anything seemed like it was making any noise, and they get concerned that it's not working anymore. But the reality is, it was like instead of the bone having to go from here to here, now the bone was only going from here to here. It just didn't have all that gas to release. In fact, if we were to see somebody every single day for a couple of weeks, for example, we're probably not going to do that. But as we see somebody every single day for a couple of weeks, it would probably get quieter and quieter and quieter until finally it was like nothing was happening because they really just didn't need to get adjusted at that time. So that's the noise itself can vary. It can mean you're very stuck and that there's not much moving, or it can mean that you're doing great because of you've been getting a few adjustments and things are starting to stay in the right place.
One of the side notes that I wanted to mention too is the difference between a click, if you just stretch and you hear that pop, versus a clickety click every time that you move your neck. That clickety click are tendons that are rubbing against each other. And as the body starts to get in good alignment, that click should also start to diminish. So many times patients will complain like, oh, I'm so noisy. Why is it so noisy? But that can actually start because now things are moving where they didn't move before, and then the noise is there. But ideally, we get to the point where that noise again starts to diminish so that you have quiet range of motion and all of the joints glide on each other.
Yeah, some patients will come in and they go, I was just stretching in bed and I heard a pop and I thought, oh no, I messed everything up. And they didn't mess anything up. It was just that little release. It's okay, something got stuck. And that's the good test is like if you turn your head once and it cracks, that's probably the joint and it released and it was just stuck and it got unstuck. And as long as you're not putting force into it, that's totally fine. If every time you turn your head you hear the noise over and over again, then that's the tendon. So that's not the joint. So it's not like something is broken and moving around in there. It's just that tightness of that joint rubbing together, because when that gas releases, it takes a while for that to build back up again. So if it just turns and it cracks, it's not going to keep doing it if it's the joint.
Perfect. And you don't want to, again, force it, and sometimes people will, even when they stretch and think, too far. But steady, good stretches of the spine is very healthy and allows more blood to get into the joints and keep it quiet.
Yeah, so this question was actually prompted by one of our patients this week. He wanted to know, is the pop the treatment, or can you get better if you don't hear a pop? It was kind of like it's kind of a mixed question, right? So sometimes I'm setting somebody up to do the adjustment and we'll hear something pop, and then I'll still push. And so that was kind of how the question was, why would you still push if it already popped? And so to me, it's like, okay, if you have 2 vertebrae and they're out of alignment, it can separate real quick and it'll make a pop, but that doesn't mean it went back into place. And it can also make the pop and it's over, and then I can push it back into place. So the adjustment, the treatment is the pushing it back into a place. It's not just the separation and that pop. So there are techniques out there, and we do practice some of those as well with patients who don't want to hear the pops and cracks, where we can get their bones to move back into place without the pop and the crack. But for some patients, that the best result is to do the style of adjustment where we do hear things move. But if you absolutely hate that, we can certainly stop it, modify our technique or whatever. But we also want to make sure that you're getting better. So the pop is great. Sometimes it makes it more fun for the doctor as well. Makes it more fun for the patient. They know that something happened. But the pop by itself is not an adjustment. It's the actual pushing back into place where we know which way that vertebrae is gone, and we're going to push it back into place. And that's the treatment. That's what's going to get you better, not hearing a noise.
Exactly. And then we know that it's better, the tension is released from the muscles, and things move so much nicer. And so it's not as sexy sometimes after several visits that this visit is quieter, but you're improving, and that's a good thing, and that's what we want to cheer you on for.
Right. All right. Thanks.